Hello and welcome to News Epicenter with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwal. Ladies and gentlemen, applying for a visa should be a very straightforward process. You go to the embassy, you give your documents, answer basic questions, pay the fees and wait for the officials to process the application and make a decision. Now, visiting Pakistan anyways raises a lot of red flags and comes under the scrutiny of multiple agencies, but it's not illegal. Indian citizens are advised to take all precautions and the decorum of diplomacy is expected as there is no ban on people-to-people contact. Now, students, pilgrims and academics regularly travel to Pakistan and go through the standard visa process. But imagine a situation where even entering the Pakistan embassy makes you fair game for not just perverts but Pakistani propaganda. Now, CNN News 18 had an exclusive conversation with an Indian Sikh academic who approached the embassy in March last year for a visa. At first, she was told to come in May because the Imran Khan government then was unstable. But then this lady gets cornered by two Pakistani diplomats who tell her they can easily process her visa and during that conversation ask her questions about her sex life. They ask her if her faith allowed extramarital affairs, boasting that they can have as many wives as they want. Now, these men even grab the lady's hand several times, ignore her sponsorship letter and say she can only visit Pakistan if they sponsor her. Not just that, they even tell her she is an oppressed minority. She should support Khalistan, adding that Khalistan will be formed before the Kashmir resolution. So not only sexual harassment, there is propaganda at play as well. Now naturally, she gets up and leaves, but the harassment does not stop there. The weeks following the embassy visit, she is called and messaged multiple times where they promise her dinner and free stay. And finally they say, spend the night with us and you will get a visa in 24 hours. She names the two diplomats, Tahir Abbas and Asif. She raised the matter with the Pakistan embassy multiple times as well, and along with the nation's foreign secretary as well as Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto on Twitter. So she raised it at multiple levels. But no action has been taken so far. Before we get to our guests, listen in to the shocking revelations in this exclusive chat.
सर मैं पिछले साल मार्च में पाकिस्तान हाई कमीशन गई थी न्यू दिल्ली टू टेक वीज़ा टू विजिट पाकिस्तान। मेरे दो पर्पस थे। मैं गुरुद्वारा साहिब जाना चाहती थी, वहाँ के मॉन्यूमेंट्स देखना चाहती थी एंड सेकेंडली एक लेक्चर था जो मैं वहाँ पे डिलीवर करना चाहती थी। एक आदमी आया जो मुझे कहते हैं आपको वीज़ा मिल गया, तो मैंने बोला नहीं सर वीज़ा मिला नहीं है। तो रूम में ले गए, उधर बैठाया और उधर जनरल क्वेश्चंस पूछना शुरू हो गए, क्यों जाना चाहते हो। ही स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट आर यू मैरिड। आई सेड नो सर। तो आप फिर कैसे रहते हैं, आप जिंदगी कैसे काटते हैं, हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल फॉर यू कि आप अपनी सेक्सुअल डिजायर्स के लिए क्या करते हैं। मुझे थोड़ा सा अनकंफर्टेबल लगना शुरू हो गया। फिर मुझे बताना शुरू हो गया कि मुस्लिम्स में तो हमारे पास एक कोई सेक्ट होता है, मुझे नाम भूल गया उसका। ही टोल्ड मी अबाउट सम काइंड ऑफ अ सेक्ट जो कि वॉर से वापस आते हैं तो दे मैरी फॉर ओनली अ कपल ऑफ आवर्स, 2 घंटे के लिए। वो इसी काम के लिए होता है कि वन कैन फुलफिल डिजायर्स। आपके क्या रिलीजन में अलाउड है एक्स्ट्रा मैरिटल अफेयर? क्या आपके रिलीजन में अलाउड है एक से ज्यादा शादी? तो करते करते ही अगेन हेल्ड माई हैंड। दैट इज व्हेन आई गॉट अप। मैंने कहा सर आई वांट टू लीव। और एकदम से वो भी उठ के कमरे से बाहर चले गए। फिर एक और आदमी आया जो ज्यादा जैसे सोफिस्टिकेटेड पॉलिश्ड होता है। ही वाज वेयरिंग अ बिजनेस सूट। तो वो आके बैठ गए। उन्होंने भी ऐसे क्वेश्चंस पूछे। उनका नाम है ताहिर अब्बास। ये जो पहले थे उनका नाम है आसिफ। एंड मैं मुझे कहते हैं मैं वीजा आपको दे सकता हूँ लेकिन आपको स्पॉन्सरशिप मेरे से लेनी पड़ेगी। जो आप लेकर आए हो स्पॉन्सरशिप उससे नहीं आपको मिलेगा। तो मैंने कहा सर मैं आपको स्पॉन्सरशिप नहीं लेना चाहती। कहते हैं आप क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, बैक एंड पे फाइल में क्या लिखा है किसी को क्या पता, तो आप मेरी स्पॉन्सरशिप ले लो। मैंने कहा नहीं सर, मैं अपना नाम किसी भी पाकिस्तानी डिप्लोमेट के साथ एसोसिएट नहीं कर सकती। मैं खड़ी हो गई और मैं बाहर आ गई एम्बेसी से। 1 महीने बाद मुझे व्हाट्सएप पे मैसेजेस आए। तो उसके ऊपर उन्होंने लिखना शुरू किया कि आप आए नहीं दोबारा, हम आपको हैंडसमली पे करेंगे रिम्यूनरेशन दैट यू राइट अगेंस्ट प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी। वो मैसेज करें साथ में डिलीट कर दें। फिर मुझे समझ आई कि ये कुछ गड़बड़ है, तो मैंने उनके स्क्रीनशॉट लेने शुरू किए। देन आई स्पॉटेड द एंटायर चैट। मुझे फोन भी आया जो ताहिर अब्बास का था। उसका फोन आया एंड ही डायरेक्टली सेड कि आप मेरे शहर में आए हैं, आओ मैं आपको डिनर पे होस्ट करूंगा। आई रिफ्यूज्ड डायरेक्टली, सर आई डोंट वांट टू हैव डिनर। देन ही सेड एज आई सेड अर्लियर यू कैन कम एंड मैं आपको स्पॉन्सर करूंगा। तो मुझे वीजा ऑफिसर को कहना पड़ेगा कि मैं इनको जानता हूँ, तो जानने के लिए व्हाई डोंट यू कम ओवर, यू स्टे ओवरनाइट एंड देन नेक्स्ट डे वी शैल ग्रांट वीजा। तब मुझे समझ लगी कि ये डायरेक्ट ऑफर है कि आप आइए मेरे साथ रात बिताइए और अगले दिन मैं आपको वीजा दूंगा। इससे पहले उन्होंने खालिस्तान के ऊपर भी बातें की है, कहते आप लोगों को तो खालिस्तान चाहिए। मैंने कहा नहीं, मुझे तो नहीं चाहिए, हम तो इंडियन है, वी आर वेरी हैप्पी एज एन इंडियन। कहते लेकिन आप ऑप्रेस तो हो ना। मैंने कहा नहीं सर, हम ऑप्रेस नहीं है, हम तो जो मर्जी करें अपनी मर्जी से, मुझे तो कभी ऐसा कुछ लगा ही नहीं। कहते आपको खालिस्तान नहीं चाहिए। मैंने कहा नहीं, बिल्कुल भी नहीं चाहिए, हमने तो कभी बोला ही नहीं। कहते आप देखना खालिस्तान आपका कश्मीर इशू का रिजॉल्व होने से पहले बन जाएगा।
Now, she says she has raised the matter with the MEA as well, but no action has been taken so far. Now, many have raised the card of diplomatic immunity, which raises some big questions. What does the Aam Aadmi do when they face such harassment from diplomats of another country? Are the legal options and avenues to complain limited given their diplomatic status? Are Indian citizens fair game in Pakistan embassies where they can be targeted without fear? Is it time for the MEA to immediately act? Because while we are tackling terror with surgical strikes and taking on Pakistan on the world stage, something like this happening to our own citizens makes us look very weak. So let's get to our guest. Rabindranath Sachdev, international affairs expert, is joining us on the broadcast, along with Karthik Chopra, advocate and activist, Ellen Rao, advocate and former DCP of Delhi, Anshul Malhotra, former diplomat, and Kamar Cheema, strategic and political analyst from Pakistan. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on CNN News 18. Anshul Malhotra, I want to come to you first. When a situation like this comes to light, what is the procedure? What kind of avenues do people like you and me have when it comes to seeking some form of redressal? Because this is brazen sexual harassment inside an embassy. What can the Aam Aadmi do?
Well, Ayushman, I think the Aam Aadmi can do what this brave young lady has done. She has finally spoken out. It seems this has been going on for quite some time, and it requires a lot of courage. Now the ball is in the court of the Ministry of External Affairs. And I have every reason to believe that there is a truth in whatever she is saying. Otherwise, there is absolutely no reason she should be making such allegations. Now, for the Ministry of External Affairs, the first, I mean, if they want to take a relatively soft stand, they can ask the ambassador or the government of Pakistan to send back these officers with immediate effect. If not, on our own, we should declare them as persona non grata and expel them from here, because we can't afford a situation when we can let this go without being, any action, without any action being taken on our part. We can't appear to be soft on these issues. And I'm saying this on the presumption that there is a substance in what the complainant has said, and simultaneously saying that I see no reasons why she should be saying what she is saying. You see, it is a common, I mean, it's an open secret that the ISI operates under the guise of their consular officers with the protection of their diplomatic, immunity under the umbrella of their missions abroad. And of course, it's quite, it's not unusual for the consular officer to identify soft targets, enroll them, and then use them for their own purposes, particularly if the person concerned is desperate to get visa. And in the context of India-Pakistan, it is indeed very difficult to get a visa to Pakistan. So they are trying to exploit her, misusing the vulnerability. All that is possible. But going to the extent, even honey traps are a common thing in the diplomatic, in the espionage activities.
Right.
When a foreign mission, the foreign intelligence lay these honey traps, and they target the useful persons, try to influence them, cultivate them, so that they can pursue their interests.
But I don't think we're seeing a clash of two spies over here. This is just a lady academic who's being harassed by these two diplomats. You're saying that the ball is in the MEA's court, but the Aam Aadmi doesn't always have access to the MEA when it comes to redressal. Those options are very limited. You can't go to a police station and file an FIR against those two diplomats. So the options are limited. That's my point. Someone can get away with this crime so easily. Kamar Cheema, I want to bring you in on this. When it comes to these kind of actions, I mean, people-to-people contact is not banned between India and Pakistan. Both countries have their differences, but this is a shameful act by Pakistani diplomats. And This lady has also said that she raised this complaint as per the grievance portal of the Pakistan embassy. No action was taken. She even raised it with the foreign secretary, even tagged Bilawal Bhutto on Twitter, but no reply took place. Isn't this an embarrassing thing for your country in India, where you have two diplomats? Not only are they sexually harassing an Indian academic, but they are also peddling this Khalistani propaganda towards her.
Well, I think there are a few angles to look this story. The first angle is that few years back, there was an Indian diplomat in Islamabad who was working for the Pakistan, and she was arrested when she came back in New Delhi. So I think India is somehow taking a revenge. Okay, so the Pakistani diplomats have not been in the honey trap. So let's try to malign the Pakistanis this way. So as this story is coming up, this lady is coming up, I think she should come on the TV and she should talk. There is no wrong. If the people in the Pakistani High Commissioner, they are involved in that kind, the lady should come up, rather giving you the story and you being the mouthpiece of the Indian government. So I think next thing which is important is, I think the Pakistani authorities and the Indian authorities, they need to sit together, and they even shut down the high commissioners, because they're not doing any work. If this blame game is to be there, we call that there is a spy mission in Islamabad in the shape of Indian High Commission, and you call that, okay, your people are involved in harassment. So there is no trade, there is nothing going on. Indian government doesn't want to talk. So I think cricket cannot happen. We cannot come and
my simple question is, I know you'll go down the rabbit hole. This is bad, that is bad between the two countries. My simple question is, does this mandate an investigation from the Pakistani side?
Well, the question is, who will establish that this lady who is raising the questions, these are the questions which the Indian deep state raises all the time. These are the allegations which come from the Indian deep state. So you have you have not done a good homework.
Sir, it's yes or no. Sir, it's yes or no.
The Indian deep state is not good in research.
Sir, it's yes or no. The Pakistani government or the Pakistani establishment will not investigate this case. I just want a yes or no from you.
I think this is a new law from India and there is no need for investigation.
There's no need for investigation because you think that this is a plant at the end of the day.
India.
We have her statement to us. You have no basis to say that, but that's nothing new at the end of the day. Rabindranath, Sachdev, I want to take your opinion on this. When it comes to these embassies, it seems that, they saw her coming. She enters, she looks for a visa, and these two diplomats just corner her, thinking that, if they expedite the process, that maybe she's desperate for a visa and she will be willing to do, she'll be ready to do anything. In those situations, do you think that when it comes to these jurisdictional problems, these embassies become very dangerous territory, especially between two countries like India and Pakistan?
Well, thank you so much. A pleasure to be with you. Yes, definitely yes. The issues of embassy and diplomatic immunity, etc., are all there. But I'll step back and I'll say a couple of things. One, as Qamar Shima Saab is saying, firstly, forget everything else. It reflects badly on Pakistan's foreign ministry that there are allegations like this by a lady. And apparently, from what we know so far, she had raised the matter with the diplomatic mission here and also with the foreign ministry of Pakistan. Any self-respecting organization, forget everything else between Pakistan and India, right? Any self-respecting organization, one would be expected to have safe places free of sexual harassment. That's one. So whatever she complained, there should have been a due process. And even if we take, Mr. Chima's argument that it's Indian deep state, still the Pakistani establishment should have done at least a basic investigation into what she's saying, so that they could have come back and said, no, there was nothing like this. That's fun. So it reflects poorly on the standards on the standards of Pakistan's foreign service. That's one I would say. Secondly, yes. Now, as another thing which Ambassador Achal Malhotra highlighted, yes, what this would indicate now, if we were to look seriously into the whole affair, apart from the overall sexual harassment and workplace issue, this may not be the first one of its kind. This would be then, and that's what India should investigate. There must be a pattern of these kind of things happening. And the word honey trap has been used a couple of times by both earlier panelists. Something along these lines. And who knows, vulnerable people could be being trapped by these means. So this may not have been the first instance of an Indian citizen, especially let's say a woman, of the profile of which she was. This one is a professor or or a teacher, so that's a different profile in a way. But there could be some other who are maybe not as worldly aware, if you will pardon my saying that, right? Who
Absolutely.
could go down the slippery slope. So this is a pattern in that case, which should be looked into by the Indian side. Now, thirdly, as to what this lady professor could have done. Yeah, I mean, who knows, how the human mind works. You may think that, let it be, maybe it's not what I'm really thinking, but when she got the chats and all, I think one of the things would be, whatever be the diplomatic situations, go to the police station. But that's hindsight 2020 for me, right?
Absolutely.
Go to the police station, whichever police station, inform the police. The police may not lodge an FIR, but I hope any police station would take this matter seriously, and the police station could have contacted the MEA,
Right.
and then the process taken over.
Right.
But then,
Mr.
as I'm
Sachdev,
saying,
I wanted to
these
take
are-
that point to Ellen Rao, actually, who's a former DCP of Delhi. Mr. Rao, as Mr. Sachdev is pointing out, if this lady approached the police and said, this has happened to me, what next step can the police take? Because clearly it seems that if you want to raise this complaint with the MEA, it's not as easy as registering an FIR. So if she went to the cops and she said, this happened to me in March 2022, what could the police have done to expedite this case? Or could they have even expedited this case? Because that flag of diplomatic immunity keeps flying over this case when it comes to seeking any justice for this lady.
Yes, good evening to everyone. Definitely, if the lady could have reported the matter to the police, it was the first and foremost duty of the police to start initiating the process. No doubt that these alleged persons are having diplomatic immunity, but still the police has a procedure that any such complaint, if it is reported to the police station and any offence is made out, apparently in this case, the section of molestation to the women and 509 or 354, etc. is made out. But in that section, the police cannot register an FIR, rather because that offence was committed within the premises of the embassy, that it itself is a territory of Pakistan, you can say. Every embassy has the territory of his own, that's own country. But in that case, the MEA could have been contacted by the cops through the concerned senior officers, through police headquarters, and then MEA can be contacted not directly by the police, but through MHA.
Right.
The police might have written to the MHA, MHA in turn returned to the MEA, and the appropriate legal action, most likely these diplomats could have been struck from this embassy, and they could have been deported by the Ministry of External Affairs and with the
Right. So you're pointing out that if she had approached the police, then via the MHA, this complaint could have gone to the MEA and this would have escalated the case. It could have been taken a little more seriously than just directly trying to contact the MEA.
Yes, that's through channeling only through MHA. MEA cannot be contacted by the police directly.
Right.
The police has to write to the MHA through their ministry, the police headquarters, and MHA could have taken this matter seriously with the MEA, because this is ultimately prerogative of MEA to take any action against the diplomats, and as per law of our land. And in that case, it could have been a very serious matter. No doubt it is a serious matter.
Absolutely.
But the action should have been taken. But I'm afraid that why no action has been taken since March 22 till
Absolutely.
now.
And the point is that when this lady was trying to find some sort of justice, she just pointed out that she didn't file a police complaint because of diplomatic immunity. But you're saying that that avenue was there. It could have been taken seriously. Karthik Chopra, I want to come to you on this point when it comes to this entire shocking incident which has taken place inside the Pakistan embassy. You have diplomats also talking to someone who's applying for a visa about Khalistan, about saying that, you should support Khalistan just because you're a Sikh. The Khalistan dream will be fulfilled before the Kashmir resolution. Should we now look at these diplomatic enclaves a little more seriously from a security perspective? Has the time come for that? Because it seems they're operating with such impunity where they can harass anyone, throw their propaganda at anyone, and not fear any
Diplomats diplomatic relations between countries need to be mutually respected. If these conventions of behavior, of norm, of ethic is not maintained, then it's open season for us on these people for a complete and thorough investigation into their activities, into where they visit, who they visit, when they leave the embassy premises. This kind of, let us say, indoctrination, or I wouldn't call it brainwashing, but this kind of probing to try and judge the mental mindset of an individual towards causes that are detriment to the national security of India are in effect beginning of an act against our country, and hence just having diplomatic immunity does not prevent us from taking action against such people. And these people need to be declared persona non grata and thrown out of the country immediately, irrespective of what counteraction they may take against our diplomatics in Pakistan on a reciprocity basis. That should not deter us from throwing these people out. Secondly, as Mr. Rao said, if an act has been committed in a manner which is, detrimental to the modesty of a lady, then all relevant sections of law as prevalent in India need to be applied when she is filing her complaint. And then if the Home Ministry does not forward this complaint to the External Affairs Ministry, which then does not take action thereafter, then it is something that needs to be looked into so that such cases can be adequately and efficiently handled.
Right. Kamar Chima, I'll try again with you when it comes to, seeking some form of justice for this lady. You are still convinced that this is a sort of espionage, but I'm just saying, forget the politics between India and Pakistan. I'm just saying, for the sake of decency, for the sake of the public image of Pakistan, isn't the onus at the end of the day on the Pakistani state? If such a complaint is coming into your grievance redressal portal by any individual, at least an investigation. Isn't that fair at the end of the day? Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani ho jayega, if it's true, if it's not true. But at least, isn't it important to launch an investigation? You're of the opinion ki investigation launch karne se hi you're admitting defeat.
Well, I think there are two things to understand here. The first thing is that Pakistani diplomats who are in New Delhi, they already understand that there is a hostile environment in that country. So why they would be in such a situation? Why they will put themselves in such a situation where they could be a damage to them, and they know that the country is hostile, people are hostile. So why would they do this? First thing. The second thing is that if history is any guide, we have seen such kind of statements coming earlier, the way Pakistani diplomats have been asked to leave the country. This has been a habit in the past as well. So in any way, if looking the hostile environment where the Pakistani diplomats are, how come they can reach to this thing, and why this can happen? Secondly, looking at how India has been treating the Pakistani diplomats in the past, there is no way the Pakistani diplomats will do this. So, and the second thing is that the Indian authorities have all the right to take an action, and in return, Pakistan will also take an action, because this is quid pro quo. So, I think if India has decided to go into
I'm just asking limit, you basically from a point of decency, sir. If this happened to a Pakistani lady in Islamabad at the Indian embassy, what would you expect?
They are treated like commodities. Women are commodities in their country. They look at the number of honor killings in their country, so-called honor killings. The recently blasphemy law was raised against a Christian security guard when she asked somebody to move his car. Their whole attitude towards women is absolutely derogatory. It's hopeless to talk to them.
I'll try. Karthik, I'll try again. Mr. Kamar Chima, if this happened to a Pakistani lady at the Indian embassy in Islamabad, what would you expect? And secondly, what's the point of talking about Khalistan to someone who just wants to get a visa and try to come to Pakistan to see the monuments and to deliver a lecture? She is an academic. She knows other academics in Pakistan. That's why she was getting the visa. And you're saying you should support Khalistan. Khalistan pehle hi ban jayega, Kashmir resolution se hi pehle. I mean, is this the job of a diplomat inside a Pakistan embassy?
So just for a common sense knowledge, do you really believe that a diplomat or a Pakistani official will be such a naive that he will be talking
I am saying investigate to get to the bottom of it.
the academic, the as you are saying that the Vezi who's applied a visa is an academic. So first of all, there is no academic interaction between both the countries, even if there is a going on any academic interaction, or she got an invitation from Pakistan for that matter. So the question is that why would a Pakistani diplomat will talk this to an academic who is already the lady who's already academic and he understands the differences what the other person is talking. So question, it doesn't make a story what you are trying to make it. And on the other hand, I believe the Indian diplomats in Islamabad, they are educated, they are literate, and they won't do such kind of a thing. So I don't believe that there are diplomats on both sides who can do this. I think this is somewhere an Indian deep state has made this story, and that is in front of you.
Right. So you're still saying it's a deep state. Karthik, go on. What did you want to say?
There are norms of decency which need to be followed by diplomats on both sides, and if these are not followed, these diplomats must be their very status in the countries that they are operating in needs to be relooked at, and they need to be deported and sent back. As simple as that. Because after all, don't these diplomats represent the honor of your country, Mr. Chima, in India? Or is the honor of your country, as far as your diplomats in our country concerned, not important to you?
Kamal Chima, you want to react to that?
Wouldn't you look at the behavior of your diplomatics? Even if there is a report like that, at least have an inquiry into whether such an incident took place or not. Whether you whitewash that or not, at least would you even consider the act of looking at an inquiry something irrelevant? Or is the honor of your country not important at all in international circles?
Absolutely. That's all I'm asking. An investigation. Go ahead, Kamal Chima.
The question is, if the lady has come up and she has filed a complaint somewhere in a police or at an official place, then obviously I think the law should take its course. If you are adamant and you believe that this has happened, then let the law take its course, and then don't complain in return if something happens, because I'm talking about the habit of India. They have been doing things in the past. So I'm 200% sure, if history is any guide, we know how things operate. So I believe Indian diplomats in Islamabad and the Pakistani diplomats in New Delhi, they are very wise, they are literate, they are civilized, and they understand how to manage things. They just don't behave the way this story has been crafted.
But clearly asking an Indian woman about her sex life is nothing decent in a Pakistan embassy, Mr. Kamal Chima. Achal Malhotra, I want to give you the final word. At the end of the day, this has really sent shockwaves across.
And they're so proud of that fact.
Right.
Therefore, asking them to talk about decency for a woman is absolutely a waste of time.
Completely agree, Karthik. Karthik, I completely agree. I want to give Achal Malhotra the final word. Mr. Malhotra, you're a former diplomat. You know how the rigmarole happens whenever these cases come to light within the diplomatic circles. What would you want to tell this lady who, I don't know if she may be watching this broadcast, I'll be trying to get justice for her, trying to tell her story to the entire nation. What would you suggest to her when it comes to seeking some form of justice of this horrific crime which has happened inside a Pakistan embassy? I mean, we all remember Jamal Khashoggi as well. You know, he just entered an embassy and then he disappeared. I mean, are embassies that immune from the law where an Aam Aadmi can just enter, face this level of harassment and not find any swift redressal?
Well, Ayushman, first of all, I would express my sympathy and solidarity with the young lady, and I'll say bravo that you have finally decided to come out and speak about something about which our invited guest, unfortunately, is in a denial mode.
Yeah.
Not only is he denying, but he's also threatening that if we take any action against these two diplomats, there would be repercussions, implying that our diplomats will also be expelled from that country. For the lady, I think she has approached the right. We are now living in a digital world. Any complaint made through digital or through written application reaches the topmost and is acted upon. This will not be thrown into any dustbin. She should pursue it. She should cooperate with the authorities. She should come out with anything else she has to share with that. And of course, there are limitations as far as the action is concerned. If they are a diplomat, we can't, prosecute them here in this country. And since we don't have extradition treaty and other, our relations with Pakistan are not good, they are not going to enter into any investigation. And as Mr. Chopra has rightly pointed out, their attitude towards the womanhood is atrocious. So we should not expect anything from them. But what minimum we can do is throw them out of our country, and at least let this be known that if they do something like this will not be ignored. But there is a larger question, as Robin has also pointed out, that they are misusing their diplomatic immunity and diplomatic position
Absolutely.
to try to influence the minds of the vulnerable people. She is literate, therefore she hasn't fallen into the trap. But their ultimate the objective is to poison the mind of the Indians against the government of India, and cultivate them as pro-Pakistanis. That's more dangerous. But at the same time, I must also say that all these diplomats, as Mr. Chopra was saying, they should be monitored. They
Absolutely.
are being. I think they are all under the scanners of the intelligence
Absolutely,
bureau,
but it's high time that such kind of behavior is swiftly acted upon. And I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
It's time to throw out these two diplomats who behave in such an abhorrent manner against a lady, especially in their own embassy. I think we leave it at that, gentlemen. Rabindranath Sachdev, Karthik Chopra, Ellen Rao, Achal Malhotra, and Kamar Chima. Thank you for joining us on CNN News 18 on this story. But ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, even though diplomatic immunity is a flag the Pakistan will continue to raise, it's time the MEA takes some action. This is an abhorrent case that has come to light from the Pakistan embassy targeting a female academic, an Indian citizen being targeted like this in a Pakistan embassy. It makes us look weak. We demand some swift action. We're getting some breaking news.